Emily Lou's world dissolved into pain and betrayal in the sterile chill of the hospital delivery room. Her body, racked by labor, bled uncontrollably, each pulse a fading echo of her life. She clutched the sweat-soaked sheets, her vision blurring as the nurses' urgent voices faded into a distant hum. Logan, her fiancé, stood just beyond the door, his silhouette framed by the harsh fluorescent light. She had loved him since childhood, their bond forged through shared laughter and dreams of a future together. But now his voice cut through the haze, cold and unyielding. "It's just having a baby. Why the drama? Money doesn't grow on trees. A transfusion. She'll tough it out." Emily's heart splintered. The man who once held her hand under starlit skies, whispering names for their unborn children, had abandoned her for Hannah, the woman who saved his life. With her calculated tears and cunning smiles, Hannah had claimed Logan's heart, leaving Emily to face this moment alone. The nurses pleaded with Logan to sign the blood transfusion consent form, but he turned away, his loyalty to Hannah outweighing the life of the woman he'd promised to marry. Emily's strength waned, her breaths shallow. "Logan," she whispered, a final plea lost in the void. As darkness closed in, a warmth enveloped her, soft as a summer breeze. A celestial voice, resonant yet tender, filled the emptiness. "Emily Lou, your heart was true yet betrayed. Your love was a gift squandered by one unworthy. The heavens have seen your pain. Live again, not to chase what was lost, but to reclaim your worth. This is your divine gift." Light flared, blinding and pure, and Emily's eyes snapped open. She was no longer in the hospital, but in her childhood bedroom, the golden glow of morning streaming through the window, casting patterns on the lush green plants by her bedside. Her hands trembled as she touched her face, her body whole and unscarred. The calendar on the wall read the date of Logan's visit to break their arranged engagement, a day etched in her memory from her past life. She was reborn, gifted a second chance by a force beyond comprehension. The pain of her death lingered not in her flesh, but in her soul, a reminder of Logan's cruelty and her naivety. Yet the celestial voice's promise burned brighter this time. She would not beg nor cling to a love that had destroyed her. She would rise not for revenge, but for herself. Emily descended the stairs, her heart a mix of resolve and sorrow. Her father's angry voice boomed from the living room. "What did you say?" She froze, the scene unfolding exactly as it had in her past life. Logan knelt before their families, his eyes flickering with guilt as he begged to end their engagement for Hannah. In her previous life, Emily had rushed to him, tears streaming, pleading, "Logan, I love you. Don't you love me?" But now she stood tall, her gaze steady, her voice calm as a winter's dawn. "You don't have to beg, Logan. I never loved you as more than a brother. Our engagement is off." Logan's eyes widened, disbelief etched across his face, mirroring the shock of their parents. Emily's father, face red and fury, nodded approvingly, while her mother's eyes brimmed with pride and pain. The room fell silent, the weight of Emily's words shattering the expectations of a union meant to bind two powerful families. She felt the celestial gift pulsing within her, a chance to rewrite her story, to honor the woman she was meant to be. Logan's betrayal had ended her once, but now reborn. Emily Lou would forge a path of her own, leaving him stunned in the ashes of his choices. Emily Lou stood at the edge of the living room, her heart a battlefield of memories, as Logan knelt before their families, his plea to end their engagement hanging in the air. The celestial gift of rebirth had returned her to this pivotal moment, but the past clung to her like morning mist. She closed her eyes, and the years unfolded, years of a childhood woven with Logan, their bond as natural as the tides now shattered by his betrayal. They had grown up as close as siblings, their families bound by decades of friendship and shared ambition. The Lou and Logan households, pillars of their city's elite, had planned their union since Emily and Logan were children, seeing it as a merger of wealth and legacy. In the sprawling gardens of the Lou estate, Emily and Logan had chased fireflies, their laughter echoing under the stars. At 10, they'd carved their initials into an oak tree, promising to be friends forever. By 16, their talks turned to dreams of marriage, not from love, but from the comfort of familiarity and their parents' expectations. "We'll have a big house," Logan had said, his eyes bright, "and name our kids after the stars, Orion maybe, or Lyra." Emily had blushed, her heart warming to the idea, mistaking their ease for something more profound. Their families reinforced the match, steeped in a culture where arranged marriages secured social standing. Emily's mother, a poised woman shaped by tradition, often said, "A woman's strength lies in her family's honor, Emily. Logan is your future." Eager to please, Emily embraced the role, ignoring the quiet voice that wondered if love should feel more like fire than duty. Logan, too, seemed content, his gentle touches and attentive smiles a balm to her doubts. They planned their wedding with the fervor of youth, sketching table settings and debating flower arrangements, their shared vision, a bridge to adulthood. But Hannah's arrival changed everything. Emily remembered the day Logan returned from a hiking accident, pale and shaken, saved from a cliff's edge by Hannah's quick thinking. He called her his guardian angel, his gratitude morphing into obsession. The Logan who once held Emily's hand grew distant, his warmth reserved for Hannah's calculated tears. Naive and trusting, Emily believed his excuses, work, stress, anything but another woman. Her love deepened into desperation, blinding her to his fading affection. The memory of her past life's end surged forward, sharp as a blade. In the delivery room, her body failing, she had heard Logan's voice through the door. "It's just a baby. Why the drama? A transfusion. She'll tough it out." His words, laced with indifference, had severed her last hope. She saw how her devotion had been a cage, her willingness to sacrifice her desires, a betrayal of herself. The cultural weight of their engagement, the expectation to be a dutiful wife, had trapped her in a love that wasn't mutual. Logan's betrayal was not just personal, it was a rejection of the life their families had scripted, a life Emily had unquestioningly accepted. Now reborn, Emily saw Logan's kneeling form with new eyes. His guilt-ridden expression, once a source of her pain, now fueled her resolve. She had rushed to him in her past life, tears streaming, begging Logan, "I love you. Don't you love me?" Her pleas had only deepened his scorn, his heart already Hannah's. But today she stood unmoved, her voice steady as she declared, "You don't have to beg, Logan. I never loved you as more than a brother." The lie stung, but it was necessary. Love had cost her everything, her dignity, her family's trust, her life. She would not pay that price again. Logan's face crumpled, his disbelief a mirror to the shock rippling through their parents. Emily's father, thick with anger, roared, "You dare disrespect my daughter!" Her mother, usually silent in such matters, gripped Emily's hand, her eyes fierce with pride. The room pulsed with the weight of a broken promise, not just between Emily and Logan, but between two families whose dreams of unity now lay in ruins. Emily felt the celestial voices echo, "Reclaim your worth." This was her first step, not toward revenge, but toward a life where she chose herself over a man who had never truly chosen her. The past had taught her that love, when unreturned, was a thief. Logan's betrayal had stolen her future, but her rebirth offered redemption. As she met his gaze, Emily saw not the boy of her childhood, but the man who let her die. The oak tree's carved initials were just scars, now the dreams of Orion and Lyra dust. She would build a new legacy rooted in her strength, not in promises broken by another. Emily Lou stood poised at the living room threshold, her heart steady despite the storm of memories swirling within. The celestial gift of rebirth had placed her here on the day Logan sought to shatter their arranged engagement. The air was thick with tension as Logan knelt before their families, his voice trembling with guilt. "Emily, I'm sorry," he said, his eyes flickering to her for a moment before dropping. "I can't fulfill our engagement. I owe Hannah my life." Emily had crumbled at these words in her past life, rushing to Logan with tears and begging him to stay. She had been blinded by love, shaped by a culture that prized familial duty over personal desire. Their engagement, orchestrated by the Lou and Logan families, was more than a union of hearts, a pact to secure wealth status and tradition. But now reborn Emily saw the chains of that expectation. Logan's betrayal in the delivery room, his cold refusal to save her life, had severed any loyalty she owed him. The celestial voice's promise, "Reclaim your worth," echoed in her mind, guiding her response. She stepped forward, her movements graceful, and settled onto the plush couch with a calm that belied the chaos around her. Adorned with antique vases and portraits of their intertwined families, the room seemed to hold its breath. Emily's father, Henry Lou, a stern man with pride in his daughter's honor, clenched his fists. Her mother, Clara, sat rigid, her eyes darting between Emily and the Logan parents, torn between tradition and her daughter's dignity. Logan's parents, Edward and Margaret, looked stricken. Their son's actions stained their legacy. Emily Logan continued, his voice cracking. "Hannah saved me when I nearly died. I fainted on that cliff and my heart stopped. She gave me CPR and brought me back. I owe her everything." His words were a performance earnest yet hollow, crafted to justify his betrayal. Emily's gaze remained icy, her lips curving into a faint mocking smile. She remembered Hannah's past life taunts, her greed masquerading as devotion. Logan's debt to Hannah was real, but his choice to forsake Emily was his own. "You don't have to beg, Logan," Emily said, her voice clear and cutting. "I never loved you as more than a brother. Our engagement is off." The lie was a shield protecting the raw wound of her past devotion. Logan's eyes widened, disbelief etching his features, as if he'd expected her to cling to him as she once had. A gasp rippled through the room, the weight of her words shattering the delicate balance of their family's alliance. Henry Lou surged to his feet, his face red with fury. "You dare disrespect my daughter!" He roared, his voice shaking the crystal chandelier above. "This engagement was your family's promise as much as ours, Edward. Your son spits on our honor." Clara gripped Emily's hand, her usually demure demeanor replaced by fierce pride. "Emily is worth more than your son's fleeting whims," she said, her voice low but firm, a rare defiance of the traditions she'd long upheld. Edward Logan, a man of quiet authority, rubbed his temples, his face etched with shame. "Logan, you've gone too far," he muttered, while Margaret's eyes brimmed with tears, her silence a testament to her heartbreak. Their family's reputation, built on generations of strategic alliances, teetered on the edge of ruin. The cultural weight of their society, where marriages sealed power and prestige, made Logan's request a public affront. Whispers of this scandal would spread, tarnishing both families unless mended. Logan's shoulders slumped, but he pressed on, his voice desperate. "Emily, I know this hurts, but please understand. Hannah needs me. I can't betray her." His words, meant to appeal to her compassion, only stoked Emily's resolve. She saw now how their culture's emphasis on duty had trapped her in a role she'd never questioned: dutiful daughter, future wife, a pawn in a game of legacy. But Rebirth had freed her. She would not be the weeping bride-to-be, nor the scapegoat for Logan's choices. "Understand." Emily tilted her head, her tone laced with scorn. "I understand perfectly, Mr. Logan. You've chosen your path, now live with it." The formal address struck like a blade, severing the familiarity of their shared past. Logan flinched, his face a mask of shock and humiliation, but Emily felt no pity. The boy who carved initials with her was replaced by a man who valued a stranger's favor over her life. Henry turned to Edward, his voice cold. "This ends here. The Lou family will not be mocked. Consider our ties severed." Clara nodded, her hand still clasped around Emily's, a silent vow of support. Edward's protests. "Let's not be hasty." Henry were brushed aside. The room, once a symbol of unity, now bore witness to its collapse. Emily stood, her gaze sweeping over the shattered expectations, the celestial voice's promise burning bright within her. This was not revenge liberation, the first step toward a life where she defined her worth, not the man who had betrayed her. Emily Lou sat composed on the couch, her rejection of Logan reverberating through the Lou family's living room. The shattered engagement had left a palpable rift, the air heavy with the weight of broken traditions. Her parents, Henry and Clara, flanked her, their faces a mix of pride and fury, while Logan's parents, Edward and Margaret, sat in stunned silence. Logan, still kneeling, his plea to end their engagement for Hannah hanging like a guillotine, looked to Emily with a mix of guilt and desperation. But before she could respond further, the front door burst open and Hannah stormed in, her face streaked with theatrical tears. Hannah dropped to her knees beside Logan with a dramatic thud, her sobs loud enough to draw every eye. "Emily." "I'm so sorry," she wailed, clutching Logan's arm. "It's all my fault. I ruined your engagement. If someone must be blamed, blame me, not Logan." Her voice quivered, eyes wide with feigned innocence, a performance honed to perfection. Logan's gaze softened, his hand reaching to comfort her, blind to the calculation behind her tears. The room's attention shifted, and the families caught in the spectacle of her self-proclaimed martyrdom. Emily's lips twitched, suppressing a scornful smile. Reborn with the clarity of her past life, she saw through Hannah's facade. In that life, Hannah had gloated in private, her words venomous. "A wise woman milks a man for money, Emily. I love all rich men equally." Now Emily understood the woman before her, not just a rival, but a predator cloaked in victimhood. Hannah's theatrics were a tool to secure Logan's devotion and the wealth his family promised. But Emily knew more than Logan ever would knowledge gleaned from a life lost to betrayal. Hannah's backstory casts a shadow over her actions, one Emily had pieced together in her past life. Raised in poverty and orphan in a crumbling tenement, Hannah had clawed her way through a world that offered no mercy. Her beauty and quick wit were her currency, but her rescue of Logan from a near-fatal hiking accident changed her fate. When Logan's heart stopped on that cliff, Hannah's CPR revived him, not out of heroism, but survival. She saw in him a ladder to escape her past, a ticket to the elite circles she'd only glimpsed. Her gratitude was genuine but laced with ambition, her love for Logan a means to an end. The cultural backdrop of their society, where wealth defined worth and women often navigated power through marriage, shaped Hannah's choices. Unlike Emily, who was born into privilege, Hannah had no family name to leverage and no legacy to inherit. Her manipulation of Logan was her rebellion against a system that marginalized her, a desperate bid to rewrite her story. Yet her greed blinded her to the cost her actions sowing discord that would soon unravel her carefully spun web. Emily leaned forward, her voice calm and measured. "Get up, Hannah. Your knees don't suit the floor." The words were sharp, a challenge veiled as courtesy. Hannah's sobs faltered, her eyes narrowing for a fleeting moment before resuming their watery sheen. Logan, oblivious, snapped Emily. "Stop it. She's trying to make this right." His defense was predictable, and his loyalty to Hannah was a wall Emily no longer wished to scale. She recalled his past life cruelty standing outside the delivery room as she bled out his voice, dismissing her pain. "She'll tough it out." That memory steeled her now. "Make it right." Emily tilted her head, her tone laced with irony. "By storming into my home uninvited. Tell me, Hannah, what's your price for such sincerity?" The room tensed, Henry's jaw tightening, Clara's hand squeezing Emily's in silent support. Hannah flinched, her mask slipping, but she recovered quickly, her voice trembling. "I don't want anything, Emily. I wish for Logan to be happy." Her words were a plea, but Emily saw the flicker of fear. Hannah knew she was being seen. Her motives laid bare. Logan stood, pulling Hannah to her feet, his eyes blazing at Emily. "You've said enough, Emily. I'm the one at fault, not her." His protectiveness was a knife twisting in the wound of their shared past. Emily rose, her gaze unwavering. "Then take your fault and leave, Mr. Logan. This house is no place for your debts," the formal address cut deeper than any insult, a final severance of their childhood bond. Logan's face paled, his parents exchanging glances of dismay, the cultural weight of their failed alliance crushing them. As Hannah clung to Logan, her eyes met Emily's, a silent challenge passing between them. Emily saw the woman who would flaunt a $3 million handbag in her past life laughing at Emily's pain. But now, armed with the celestial gift of foresight, Emily held the upper hand. Hannah's ambition, her carefully crafted image, would be her undoing. Emily turned away, her heart steady, the celestial voice's promise, "Reclaim your worth," a beacon. This confrontation was not about Logan, but about exposing the truth behind Hannah's tears, a truth that would soon unravel everything. Emily Lou stepped into the bustling restaurant, the clink of glasses and hum of laughter enveloping her. The class reunion, orchestrated by Lila, the college beauty with a long-held grudge, was meant to humiliate Emily after her broken engagement to Logan. Lila's voice had dripped with mockery over the phone. "You'll come, won't you, Emily? I'll cover you, wouldn't want you to lose face." In her past life, Emily had skipped the event, too broken to face the whispers. But now, reborn with the celestial gift of foresight, she saw this as a stage to reclaim her power. Dressed in a custom gown that shimmered under the chandelier's glow, Emily radiated confidence, her presence silencing the room. Heads turned, eyes wide, as she glided through the crowd. The societal expectation that a jilted woman should fade into shame was one Emily refused to meet. In this city where status was currency, and women were often judged by their marital prospects, her defiance was a rebellion. She carried the Liu family's legacy not as a burden, but as a crown. Lila, perched at the head table, faltered mid-sentence, her smile tightening. "Emily, you made it," she said, her tone laced with false warmth. "I was saying how noble Logan is, giving up years of friendship for the woman who saved his life." Her thinly veiled jab words drew nods from sycophants eager to curry favor with the Logan heir. Emily's lips curved into a knowing smile, her past life memories sharpening her wit. She recalled Lila's failed attempts to seduce Logan, her resentment fueling this public ambush. Before Emily could respond, a familiar voice cut through the din. You people are shameless, Sean declared, his tone sharp. He stood near the bar, his boyish face set with defiance, his dark eyes flashing. Sean, a quiet classmate in her past life, had been a brilliant scientist whose loyalty cost him his life when Logan's jealousy turned violent. Emily's heart ached at the memory of cradling his broken body in the ER, his final words a whispered confession. I liked you, Emily. Now reborn, she vowed to protect him. Sean. Emily said, her voice warm, drawing every eye. She crossed the room, her gown trailing like liquid starlight, and offered him a nod. Sorry I'm late. I hope I didn't keep you waiting. The crowd murmured, stunned by her poise. Sean's cheeks flushed, but his gaze held hers, a spark of courage igniting. Unlike Logan, whose charm masked selfishness, Sean's quiet strength was genuine, rooted in a childhood spent overcoming poverty through sheer intellect. Logan and Hannah entered arm in arm, their arrival a calculated spectacle. Hannah clung to Logan, her eyes darting to Emily with feigned innocence. Logan's jaw tightened, his gaze locking on Emily. Emily, don't start trouble, he said, his voice low but edged with warning. Our engagement's over. Leave Hannah alone. The accusation, unprovoked, was meant to paint Emily as the scorned ex, a role society expected her to play. The crowd leaned in, eager for drama. Emily tilted her head, her smile sharp as a blade. Trouble, Mr. Logan. I'm here for old friends, not new enemies. She turned to the crowd, her voice clear. But since you mentioned nobility, let me share a story. A scholar once saved a fox spirit who repaid him with devotion. Sounds honorable. Yet some foxes are cleverer than they seem. Laughter rippled through the room, the metaphor landing like a dart. Logan's face darkened. Hannah's smile faltered, her mask of victimhood cracking. Sean stifled a chuckle, his eyes bright with admiration. Emily seized the moment, her past life knowledge guiding her. Sean, I hear you're a genius with science, she said loud enough for all to hear. The Liu family is starting a research project on anti-aging technology. Interested, $500,000 a year plus profit shares. The offer was bold, a public affirmation of Sean's worth in a room quick to dismiss him as a nobody. Sean's jaw dropped, then he nodded, his voice steady. I'm in, Emily. I won't let you down. The crowd buzzed, Lila's face souring as her plan backfired. Logan's eyes narrowed, jealousy flickering, but Emily ignored him, focusing on Sean. In her past life, Sean's brilliance had been stolen by Logan, his life ended by hired thugs. Emily was rewriting his story, giving him the chance he deserved. The societal bias that valued wealth over talent had once marginalized Sean, but Emily's offer challenged that norm, her influence a beacon for change. As she sat beside Sean, Hannah's voice rose tremulous. I'm sorry, everyone, I didn't mean to cause a scene. Her tears, predictably timed, drew Logan's protective arm, but Emily saw the calculation in her eyes. The reunion meant to bury Emily had instead elevated her grace and wit, turning whispers of pity into murmurs of awe. She met Sean's gaze, his quiet gratitude, a reminder of the future she could build, one rooted in loyalty, not betrayal. Emily Liu sat in the sleek conference room of the Liu family's corporate headquarters, the city skyline framed by floor-to-ceiling windows. Her rebirth, a celestial gift, had armed her with memories of a past life, a life where her family's legacy crumbled under Logan's betrayal. Now she was determined to rewrite that story, not for revenge, but to honor her worth. The class reunion had solidified her resolve, her public triumph over Lila's mockery, and Logan's accusations fueling her ambition. Today she was building a new future where loyalty and talent trumped deceit. At her side was Sean, his nervous energy palpable as he adjusted his tie. In her past life, Sean's brilliance had been exploited by Logan, his anti-aging skincare formula stolen, his life ended by hired thugs sent to silence him. Emily remembered his final moments in the ER, his bloodied hand limp in hers, his whispered regret. I couldn't save you, Emily. The memory was a scar, but it drove her to ensure his success in this life. Sean, raised in poverty and overlooked by their status-obsessed society, had earned his place through relentless study. Emily saw in him not just a friend, but a partner in reshaping her family's destiny. Across the table sat Dr. Lee, a renowned researcher funded by the Liu family for decades. His gray hair and warm smile belied a mind sharp as ever. Miss Emily, he said, his voice rich with respect, your proposal for an anti-aging technology is bold. With the right team, it could redefine the industry. Emily nodded, her confidence unshaken. In her past life, she had introduced Dr. Lita Logan only for Logan to claim the project's success as his own. This time she would keep control, ensuring the Lou name shone. Dr. Lee meet Sean. Emily said, gesturing to her friend. He's a genius with biochemistry, and I want him to lead this project. Sean's cheeks flushed, his eyes wide with surprise. Me, he stammered. Emily, I'm just... She cut him off, her tone firm but kind. You're exactly who we need, Sean. Your work in college was groundbreaking. Believe in yourself. Dr. Lee raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Let's see your credentials, young man, he said, his tone encouraging. Sean hesitated, then handed over a portfolio detailing his research. His hands trembled, a reminder of the societal barriers he'd faced, barriers that valued wealth over merit. Sean's lack of pedigree had relegated him to the margins in their city where family names opened doors. Emily's offer defied that norm, a statement that talent, not status, defined worth. Dr. Lee skimmed the pages, his expression shifting to admiration. Impressive, he said. Miss Emily, you've found a gem. I'm on board. Emily's heart swelled, but her mind was already elsewhere. Her past life knowledge included market trends and investments that would soar or crash. The Logan family, flush with arrogance, was eyeing a stock she knew would plummet within weeks. At the reunion, she'd subtly planted doubts, knowing Logan's distrust of her would spur him to invest heavily. Dr. Lee, she said casually, I hear the Logans are betting big on that new tech stock. Seems risky. Dr. Lee frowned. Overhyped, if you ask me. I'd steer clear. Emily smiled, filing the comment away. Her words would reach Logan, twisted by his paranoia into a reason to double down. The plan was ruthless, and Emily felt a pang of unease. In her past life, she'd been naive, handing her family's resources to Logan, believing love meant sacrifice. That trust had cost her everything, her wealth, life, and child. Her actions could ruin the Logans, a family once as close as her own. She paused, her pen tapping the table. Was she becoming the kind of person Logan had been, cold, calculating, willing to destroy for gain? The celestial voice's promise, reclaim your worth, felt distant, its moral boundaries unclear. Yet she reasoned the Logans' downfall would be their own doing, their greed her weapon, not her crime. Emily Sean's voice broke her reverie. He looked at her, his eyes earnest. Thank you for this. I've never had someone believe in me like you do. His gratitude grounded her, a reminder of why she fought not to destroy, but to build. You'll earn it, Sean, she said, her smile genuine. The Liu family's legacy is ours to shape, and we'll do it right. Dr. Lee nodded his approval, sealing their partnership. The meeting ended with plans for prototypes, timelines, and a shared vision of innovation. As they left, Emily glanced at Sean, his shy smile contrasting with Logan's polished charm. Society might overlook him, but she saw his potential and loyalty as a mirror to her resolve. The stock trap was set, but her true victory lay here, forging a legacy that honored talent and trust. The road ahead would test her morally, emotionally, but for now she walked with purpose, the celestial gift lighting her path. Emily Liu stood on her family's penthouse balcony, the city's neon glow pulsing below. The cool night air carried the distant wail of sirens, a reminder of the world's chaos, but her heart was steady, fortified by the celestial gift of rebirth. Her triumph at the class reunion, where she outshone Lila's mockery and uplifted Sean, had cemented her resolve to forge a new legacy. Yet the past lingered, its shadows cast by Logan's betrayal. Those shadows took form tonight as her phone buzzed, Logan's name flashing on the screen. She answered, bracing herself. Logan's voice erupted, raw with fury. Emily, what the hell are you playing at? He shouted. You humiliated me at the reunion, and now you're cozying up to Sean. What's your game? Laced with jealousy. His accusations starkly contrasted to the boy she'd once known, who'd carved their initials into an oak tree. Logan's words had chilled her to the bone in her past life, drunkenly slurred at a bar. I only married Emily for her money. Hannah's the one I love. That memory, sharp as glass, fueled her now. Emily's voice was calm, cutting through his rage. Mr. Logan, our engagement is over. Who I spend time with is none of your concern. The formal address was deliberate, a wall between their past and her present. Logan's voice faltered, then hardened. Don't play dumb. Everyone saw how Sean looked at you. He's always had a thing for you. Are you that shameless? The insult stung, echoing the societal judgment that a woman's worth lay in her restraint, her loyalty to a man, even one who betrayed her. In their city, where wealth and status dictated alliances, a woman moving on after a broken engagement was scandalous, a challenge to the patriarchal norms that bound her. Emily's independence, her partnership with Sean, her rise in the Liu family's business threatened that order. Logan's jealousy wasn't just personal. It was a reaction to her defiance of a world that expected her to fade into shame. But Emily Reborn refused to bow. "So what if Sean likes me?" she retorted, her tone icy. "What does that have to do with shame? Or are you saying you're the kind of man who wants to control what's no longer yours?" Logan's silence was heavy, broken only by the muffled voices of his parents, Edward and Margaret, trying to calm him. Emily's mind flashed to her past life, to Logan's cruelty in the delivery room. She'll tough it out. She had clung to him then, hoping love would change him. Now she saw the futility of that hope. Later that night, Emily slipped out for a late dinner, the city's vibrancy contrasting with her thoughts. Neon signs blazed, music spilled from bars, but her attention caught on a sleek car nearby. Hannah stepped out laughing, her arm draped over a man who wasn't Logan. Their intimate and carefree whispers confirmed what Emily had suspected. Hannah's loyalty was a facade, her greed driving her to juggle wealthy suitors. Emily followed her into a bar, unseen, watching as Hannah flirted with two men, her laughter smug. "Live while you're winning," Hannah purred, pouring wine into one's mouth. Emily's heart raced, not with anger, but with clarity. Hannah's duplicity validated her choice to let Logan go. Yet a flicker of unease stirred. Her plan to steer the Logans toward a doomed stock planted subtly at the reunion and with Dr. Lee was bearing fruit. Logan's distrust would lead him to invest heavily, a move that could bankrupt his family. In her past life, she'd been a pawn in their game, her family's wealth siphoned by Logan's ambition. Now she wielded power, but at what cost? Was the celestial voice's call to reclaim your worth like a tightrope empowerment or vengeance? She stepped back into the night, choosing not to confront Hannah. Exposing her would be easy, but it would lower Emily to her level, a petty victory in a society quick to judge women's motives. Instead, she would let Hannah's greed unravel her, just as Logan's arrogance would undo him. Emily's resolve hardened. She wasn't fighting for their ruin, but for her ascent. Her focus now was Sean's loyalty, Dr. Lee's trust, and her family's legacy. The bar's noise faded as she walked away, her steps firm, her heart anchored by a purpose beyond revenge. Logan's call echoed in her mind, his jealousy, a weak attempt to reclaim control. In her past life, she'd begged for his love only to die alone. Now she saw him for what he was, a man trapped by his choices, lashing out at a woman who no longer needed him. The city's lights stretched before her, a canvas for her future one she would paint, with her hands guided by the celestial gift that had given her this chance. Emily Liu sat at the polished dining table in the Logan family's opulent home, the scent of jasmine tea mingling with the tension in the air. The invitation from Margaret Logan's mother, had been unexpected, a summons cloaked in civility after the class reunion's fallout. Emily's rebirth, a celestial gift, had sharpened her instincts, and she sensed this meeting was no mere courtesy. Her triumph over Lila's schemes and Logan's jealous outburst had shifted the power dynamic, but the weight of her past life, where she died, betrayed by Logan's indifference, urged caution. Her silver hair impeccably styled, Margaret gestured to a spread of dishes, her smile warm but strained. "These are your favorites, Emily," she said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "You loved my braised pork as a child, always begging for seconds." Emily took a bite, the familiar flavors stirring memories of simpler times when the Liu and Logan families were allies, their children's engagement symbolizing unity. In their society where marriages sealed legacies and women were expected to uphold family honor, Margaret had been a mentor guiding Emily in the art of being a dutiful daughter-in-law. Now, those lessons felt like chains. "Thank you, Mrs. Logan," Emily said, setting down her chopsticks, her tone polite but firm. "But let's get to the point." Margaret's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing slightly. She leaned forward, her voice low. "Emily and Logan were wrong at the reunion, shouting like that. Edward and I have scolded him. But you humiliated him in public, comparing him to a fox spirit. As a young woman from a respectable family, you should know better. Your behavior embarrassed both our houses." The words echoed the cultural norms. Emily had once accepted a woman's role was to preserve harmony, to temper her actions to please others, especially men. Margaret's rebuke was rooted in a belief that Emily's defiance threatened the delicate balance of their elite circle, where reputation was paramount. Emily felt a flicker of anger remembering her past life when she'd conformed only to be discarded. Logan's refusal to save her in the delivery room. She'll tough it out had cost her everything. Now Margaret expected her to bow again. Emily's gaze was steady, her voice icy. Dignity isn't waiting to be chosen, Mrs. Logan, it's choosing myself. You speak of embarrassment, but who shouted first? Who let others mock me while defending a woman who crashed my home uninvited? Margaret's face froze, her polite mask slipping. Emily pressed on her words, deliberate. I kept my dignity. Can you say the same for your son who values a stranger's favor over a lifetime of promises? Margaret's chest heaved, her voice sharp. You're stubborn, Emily. No wonder Logan chose Hannah. She's pregnant, you know, carrying the Logan heir. A woman must understand a man's heart to be a good daughter-in-law and to serve her husband and his family. The words steeped in tradition stung, but they also revealed Margaret's desperation. Hannah's pregnancy was a shield meant to deter Emily from reclaiming Logan, but it also exposed the Logan family's reliance on outdated ideals to maintain their status. Emily leaned back, her smile cold. Serve, I'm not a servant, Mrs. Logan, nor a prize to be chosen. Your son doesn't meet my standards anymore. The room fell silent, Margaret's eyes widening. Emily's defiance was a direct challenge to a society that expected women to prioritize family over self. She thought of her stock manipulation plans seated with Dr. Lee and at the reunion knowing Logan's arrogance would lead him to a doomed investment. The Logan's potential ruin weighed on her. Was she crossing a line, becoming as heartless as Logan had been? The celestial voice's call, reclaim your worth, felt like a test, urging her to balance justice with compassion. Oh, and Mrs. Logan, Emily added casually, rising from her seat, I'd look into that tech stock your family's so keen on. Seems risky. The hint was calculated, her past life knowledge of the stock's collapse, a weapon she wielded with care. Margaret's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering, but Emily knew the Logan's pride would blind them to her warning. She walked away, her heart heavy with the moral cost of her plan. Ruining the Logans would restore her family's honor, but at what price to her soul? As she left, Margaret's voice followed sharp with indignation. You'll regret this, Emily. No wealthy family wants a woman so unyielding. Emily didn't turn back, her steps firm. She wasn't fighting for their approval, but for a legacy free of their betrayal. The city's lights greeted her outside, a reminder of the future she was building, one where not tradition defined her worth. Emily Lou sat in a quiet corner of a chic cafe, the clink of porcelain cups a soft counterpoint to the storm brewing in her mind. The celestial gift of rebirth had sharpened her foresight, arming her with memories of a past life where Logan's betrayal and Hannah's greed cost her everything. Her confrontation with Margaret Logan had solidified her resolve, but the weight of her stock manipulation plan lingered. By subtly warning the Logans about a doomed tech stock, she knew their arrogance would drive them to invest heavily, sealing their financial ruin. Now, a meeting with Hannah would test her strategy and her conscience. Hannah swept into the cafe, her designer heels clicking, a $3 million handbag swinging from her arm, a gift from Logan, a symbol of her conquest. Her eyes gleamed triumph as she spotted Emily, her smile dripping with false sweetness. Emily, how kind of you to meet me, she purred, sliding into the seat opposite. In her past life, Hannah taunted Emily in the hospital, and her words were cruel. When a man stops loving you, keep his money, not his heart. That memory, sharp as a blade, now fueled Emily's calm exterior. She knew Hannah's ambition, born from a childhood of poverty, her rescue of Logan, a calculated step toward wealth. Hannah's climb was ruthless in their society where status was a woman's currency and marriage her gateway. She saw Logan as her escape from a life of scraping by her beauty and cunning her only assets. Yet her greed blinded her, her loyalty to Logan as fragile as the lies she spun. Emily Reborn saw through her facade, her celestial foresight, a map to Hannah's downfall. Congratulations, Hannah, Emily said, her voice smooth. I hear you're pregnant. The Logan heir, Hannah's smile widened, her confidence unshaken. Of course it's Logan's, she said, leaning in. He's so generous, look at this bag. In 3 months, when the pregnancy stabilizes, we'll get married. You'll come to the wedding, won't you? Her tone was mockingly sweet, a jab meant to wound. Emily's heart flickered with the memory of her lost child, a pain Logan had dismissed in her past life. But she held her gaze steady, her smile unwavering. I wouldn't miss it, she replied, her words laced with irony. Emily leaned forward, her voice low, a word of advice, Hannah. Get a paternity test soon. You wouldn't want to raise a child under pretenses. Hannah's pupils shrank her composure, cracking momentarily before she laughed shrill and dismissive. Jealousy doesn't suit you, Emily. It's Logan's baby and you know it. Emily's lips twitched. She saw Hannah's bar escapade, flirting with wealthy men juggling suitors behind Logan's back. The child's paternity was a gamble, one Hannah's greed made her ignore. And the Logan's investments, Emily added casually, that tech stock they're so keen on, it's a bad bet. It'll tank within a month. Her past life knowledge was precise. The stock was a bubble hyped by false promises. Knowing Logan's distrust would make him double down, she'd planted the seed with Dr. Lee and Margaret. Hannah scoffed, her eyes glinting with defiance. You're no psychic, Emily. You're just bitter that Logan chose me. I'll make sure he invests every penny. We'll be richer than you ever dreamed. Emily's heart sank, not for Hannah, but for the ripple effects of her plan. The Logans' ruin could devastate Edward and Margaret, whose frail health she'd noted at their meeting. In her past life, she'd given everything to Logan, her family's wealth, her connections, only to die penniless and alone. Now her manipulation felt like a mirror to his cruelty. The celestial voice's call, "Reclaim your worth," echoed, urging her to question her path. Was she reclaiming her legacy or becoming the betrayal she despised? Yet Hannah's arrogance, her blind trust in a failing stock, was her undoing. As Hannah stood, her handbag gleaming, Emily's phone rang. She answered loudly, ensuring Hannah overheard. "Buy all the stocks I mentioned," she said, her voice clear. "Go all in." The call was a bluff. Her portfolio was already positioned to profit from the market's shift. Hannah's smirk returned, her confidence restored. Trying to scare Logan out of investing, she taunted, "I'll make sure he goes bigger." She sauntered out, oblivious to the trap. Emily stared at her tea, the steam curling like her doubts. Her plan was working. Hannah's greed would push Logan to ruin, but the cost gnawed at her. The societal pressure to outmaneuver rivals to win at any price was a game she'd once lost. Now she played it better, but the victory felt hollow. She resolved to focus on her true legacy, Sean's project, the Liu family's rise, not the destruction of others. The cafe's hum faded as she stood, her path clear, her conscience a fragile guide. Emily Liu stood in the gleaming atrium of the Liu family's corporate headquarters, sunlight streaming through glass panels illuminating a future she had fought to reclaim. The celestial gift of rebirth had guided her from the ashes of betrayal to this moment of triumph. Sean's anti-aging skincare technology, developed under her patronage, had launched successfully, catapulting the Liu family to industry leadership. Headlines praised their innovation, erasing the mockery that followed her broken engagement. Yet as she surveyed the bustling office, a shadow lingered. Her stock manipulation plan, which had lured the Logans to financial ruin, weighed on her conscience. Sean approached, his shy smile starkly contrasting the polished executives around them. In her past life, his brilliance had been stolen by Logan, his life ended by violence. Now his eyes sparkled with pride, his once uncertain demeanor replaced by quiet confidence. "Emily," he said, his voice warm, "the latest trials exceeded expectations. We're projecting millions in revenue." Emily's heart swelled. Sean's journey from poverty to prominence mirrored her rebirth, a defiance of society's bias toward wealth over merit. "You did this, Sean," she said. "I'm splitting the profit, 70% for you, 30% for the Liu family." His jaw dropped, his cheeks flushing. "Emily, that's too much," he stammered, tugging at his shirt. "I only want 30%. You take the rest." The words echoed his past life generosity, when he'd offered the same split only for Logan to betray him. Emily shook her head, her smile firm. "You earned it, Sean. This is our legacy, not mine alone." His eyes met hers, gratitude mingling with something more profound, a bond forged through trust. In a society that valued status over substance, their partnership was a rebellion, a testament to talent and loyalty. The moment was interrupted by a call, Logan's number. Emily braced herself, answering with a cool, "Yes, Mr. Logan." His voice was hoarse, broken. "Emily, I was wrong. Hannah's not who I thought. All she cares about is money. The investments were ruined." His desperation stirred a flicker of pity, a dangerous temptation. In her past life, she'd died begging for his love, his cold dismissal. She'll tough it out, sealing her fate. Now he stood in her shadow, pleading. "Can we start over?" he asked, his voice cracking. Emily's fingers tightened around the phone. The societal expectation that a woman should forgive and nurture even those who wronged her pressed against her resolve. Logan's regret mirrors her past pain, tempting her to soften and reclaim the boy she'd once loved. But the celestial voice's call, "Reclaim your worth," cut through the haze. She saw Logan's ruin as the fruit of his choices, her stock plan merely a nudge toward his greed-driven downfall. Yet the cost haunted her. Edward and Margaret's frail health, strained by the bankruptcy, could falter. Was her triumph worth their suffering? "I don't recycle, Mr. Logan," she said, her voice steady, but not cruel. "You made your choice. Live with it." She hung up, her heart pounding. The temptation to forgive, to fall back into the role of the dutiful woman, was strong, but her rebirth demanded more. She wasn't here to save Logan, but to build a future free of his shadow. Turning to Sean, she found him watching her, his expression a mix of concern and admiration. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft. Emily nodded, her smile returning. Better than ever. She gestured to the office, alive with their shared vision. "This is what matters, Sean, not him." His hand brushed hers, a fleeting touch that warmed her more than Logan's pleas ever could. In their city, where women were judged by the men they kept, Emily's choice to stand alone, supported by loyal allies like Sean, was a quiet revolution. Her plan had worked. The Logans' overinvestment in a failing stock had crippled them, but the victory felt bittersweet. She prayed her actions hadn't crossed into vengeance, that her legacy would be one of creation, not destruction. As they walked through the atrium, Sean's voice broke the silence. "I heard the Logans lost everything," he said, his tone cautious. "Did you have a hand in that?" Emily paused, her conscience prickling. "I gave them a choice," she said, her voice low. "They chose wrong." Sean's eyes searched hers, then he nodded, accepting her truth. Their partnership, rooted in mutual respect, was her triumph, a foundation more decisive than any revenge. The city beyond gleamed a canvas for her legacy, one she would paint with purpose, not regret. Emily Lou stood at the edge of the wedding venue, a once grand ballroom now dimmed by the Logan family's financial ruin. The celestial gift of her rebirth had led her here to witness the unraveling of Logan and Hannah's union, a poetic mirror to the betrayal that ended her past life. Her strategic nudges, warning the Logans about a doomed tech stock, knowing their arrogance would drive them to invest, had borne fruit. The stock's collapse had bankrupted them, stripping the opulence from this day. Yet, as she watched guests murmur under flickering chandeliers, Emily felt a pang of guilt, the weight of her actions heavy on her conscience. Sean stood beside her, his presence a quiet anchor. His success with the Liu family's anti-aging technology had elevated them both, but his loyalty forged through shared struggles grounded her. In their society, where wealth defined worth and women were judged by their alliances, Emily's choice to champion Sean, a man of talent, but no pedigree, challenged norms. She glanced at him, his eyes alert, scanning the crowd. "You didn't have to come," she said softly. Sean's jaw tightened. "I'm here for you, Emily. Always." His words, echoing his past life devotion, stirred her heart. The room buzzed with anticipation as Logan, dressed in a strained suit, greeted guests with a forced smile. Gray strands threaded his hair, his face etched with exhaustion from the family's losses. His eyes flicked to Emily, a flicker of longing quickly masked. In her past life, she had died in a delivery room, Logan's cold voice dismissing her pain. "She'll tough it out." Now his ruin was a mirror to her suffering, but the victory felt hollow. Edward and Margaret, frail and shaken, sat near the stage, their health weakened by the bankruptcy. Emily's plan had targeted Logan's greed, but its ripple effects haunted her. The MC's voice boomed, "Welcome to Mr. Logan and Miss Lynn's wedding." Applause faltered as the doors remained closed. Murmurs grew where was Hannah Margaret. Her face pale, whispered urgently to the staff. Logan's knuckles whitened, gripping his suit. A staff member rushed in, clutching an envelope. "Miss Lynn left this," he stammered. Margaret tore it open, her eyes scanning the note. Her gasp echoed as she collapsed, fainting. Logan caught her, his voice breaking. "Mom." A guest snatched the note, reading aloud. "I'm done. Marry yourself. Broke girl." The room erupted in gasps. Another guest held up a paper, her voice shrill. "A paternity report. No biological relation." The crowd's shock swelled. Hannah's baby wasn't Logan's. Whispers spread. "She played him. The Logans are finished." Logan's face crumpled, his eyes glassy as he screamed, "Hannah!" His voice cracked raw with betrayal. The scandal was catastrophic in a society obsessed with lineage and honor. The Logan name, once a pillar, was now a joke. Emily watched, her expression cold, but her heart conflicted. The celestial voice's call, "Reclaim your worth," had guided her, but the chaos before her tested its meaning. Her stock plan had exposed Logan's folly, but Edward and Margaret's collapse, their health failing under the strain, was a cost she hadn't intended. In her past life, she'd been a pawn, her family's wealth stolen by Logan's ambition. Now she'd turned the tables, but the collateral damage gnawed at her. Was this justice or vengeance? Sean's hand brushed hers, his voice low. "You okay?" She nodded, her gaze distant. She murmured, "I didn't want this for them," thinking of Edward and Margaret. But Logan, he chose this. Sean's eyes softened, his loyalty unwavering. "You gave them a chance. They ignored it." His words eased her guilt, but not entirely. The societal pressure to win, to outmaneuver rivals, had driven her plan, but she vowed to rise above it, to build rather than destroy. News trickled in. Hannah had fled with a wealthy patron, and her schemes were exposed when creditors called. Her disappearance, a final betrayal, left Logan alone in the wreckage. Emily felt no pity for him. His pain was a shadow of her past suffering. But for Edward and Margaret, she whispered a silent prayer, hoping their loss wouldn't claim their lives. As the guests scattered, the ballroom's faded grandeur mirrored the Logan's fall. Emily turned to Sean, her voice firm. "Let's go. This isn't our story anymore." Emily Lou stood on a quiet hill overlooking the city, the twilight sky ablaze with hues of amber and violet. The celestial gift of her rebirth had carried her through betrayal, triumph, and moral trials, culminating in the Logan family's downfall at their ill-fated wedding. The Lou family's anti-aging technology, driven by Sean's brilliance, had restored their honor, transforming whispers of pity into accolades of innovation. Yet as the city's lights flickered below, Emily felt the weight of her journey, not just the victories, but the costs she hadn't foreseen. Sean sat beside her on a wooden bench, his hand warm around hers, a steady presence in a world once defined by Logan's betrayal. Sean's loyalty had cost him his life. In her past life, his final words haunting her, "I couldn't save you, Emily." Now his success and their partnership were her anchor, a defiance of their society's bias that valued wealth over merit. Sean's journey from poverty to prominence mirrored her rebirth, a testament to resilience in a culture that prized lineage over talent. The news of the Logan's collapse had spread like wildfire. Edward and Margaret, frail from the stress of bankruptcy, had passed away days after Hannah's wedding betrayal, their deaths a shadow over Emily's triumph. Logan, his hair now entirely gray, was a broken figure, his once proud family name a laughingstock. Exposed as a fraud, Hannah had fled with a wealthy patron, her schemes unraveling when creditors uncovered her trail of debts. Her fate, a footnote in the city's gossip, closed a chapter Emily no longer cared to read. A voice called her name, tremulous and worn. "Emily." She turned to see Logan approaching, his face lined with age, his eyes hollow. Sean tensed, stepping forward, his voice sharp. "Please don't come near her, Logan." His protectiveness, born from years of quiet devotion, warmed Emily's heart. In their society, where women were expected to forgive and nurture even those who wronged them, Sean's stand was a quiet rebellion echoing her own. Logan ignored him, his voice breaking. "Emily, you love me. You can only love me. I've lost everything, my parents, my home, Hannah, the baby that wasn't mine." Emily's heart flickered, not with pity, but with the ghost of her past self, the girl who died begging for his love in a delivery room, his cold dismissal ringing, "She'll tough it out." The societal pressure to absolve him, to play the forgiving woman, tugged at her, but the celestial voice's call, "Reclaim your worth," held firm. Her stock manipulation, a nudge toward Logan's greed, had triggered this ruin, but his choices had sealed it. Edward and Margaret's deaths were a wound she hadn't intended, and she whispered a silent prayer for them, vowing to honor their memory by building, not destroying. "What gives you the right to decide for her?" Sean snapped, his eyes blazing. Emily gently squeezed his hand, her voice calm. "He has no right, Sean." She raised their joined hands, meeting Logan's gaze. "This is my boyfriend, Logan. You're nothing to me now." Logan gasped, covering his face, his body trembling on the verge of collapse. "I've lost everything," he whispered, a shell of the man who once betrayed her. Emily's heart steadied, the pain of her past life fading. You lost me long before today, she said, her tone final. She turned to Sean, his warm eyes contrasting with Logan's despair. Was that true? Sean asked, his voice soft and vulnerable. What did you say about me? Emily smiled, teasing. What that? You're my boyfriend. His cheeks flushed, his eyes wide, and she laughed, the sound light and free. Yes, Sean, it's true. In that moment, the weight of her journey lifted. Logan's betrayal, Hannah's schemes, the societal norms that once caged her, they held no power. Sean wasn't powerful or flashy, but his honesty and loyalty were everything in a world of masks. The Liu family's rise, fueled by their shared vision, was her legacy, not a tool for vengeance. She thought of her parents, Henry and Clara, whose pride in her had grown with each step she took. The cultural expectation that a woman's worth lay in her marriage had been her prison. Now she was free, her legacy a testament to choosing herself. Let's go home, Emily said, her voice soft, turning to Sean. He smiled as if he'd waited a lifetime for those words. They walked away hand in hand, leaving Logan in the twilight, a relic of a past she no longer carried. The city below pulsed with possibility, her future unwritten, but hers to shape. The celestial gift had given her a second chance, not to destroy, but to create a life where love meant partnership, not sacrifice, and where her name was hers.